Yeah, I'll have that fax to you about 9 o'clock. That sound all right? Okay, talk to you later. The 90s called, and they want their cell phone back. Or at least, that's what I think this is. There's nothing on here that really says that it's another Baofeng. There it is. It is a Baofeng. Who would have thunk it? This is the Baofeng AR-152. It is far deadlier than your average AR-15. Hold on. What this is a ham radio that claims it is 10 watts. Personally, I have tested it, and it is anywhere from 6 to 8 watts, as long as you use this type of antenna. This thing is so big it won't even fit in frame. I should have moved my camera back. This is probably one of my favorite radios as far as getting a good signal goes. The reason being is not because it necessarily puts out the most power, but because it is large enough to handle the 48.8 inch antenna. I love the 2 meter band. The problem with the 2 meter band is finding an antenna or handheld that works well with it. The signal stick is a good compromise between 2 meter reception at quarter wave and compactness. It's a great antenna, but it is not the best case scenario. I believe the best case scenario for the money is the Abri 48.8 inch antenna. I am not going to unfold it. This thing is unwieldy and it will not fit in frame. But it is normally stays attached to the top of this radio. This is a 2 meter beast. Again, not because it is particularly powerful, but because it has such a good grip and it has so much weight to it, it handles this antenna well. And when that antenna is attached, it is perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Doing focus. When the antenna is attached, the balance point is right about here. It's not ideal. I would rather the balance point be right above the hand, but it is much better than most of my radios when I attach the massive 48.8 inch beast onto it. This radio just handles well. It has so much. You could handle it like a sword, like a lightsaber with this antenna on, because it just has so much grip space. Underneath the hood, this is just another Baofeng. However, it is their newest iteration of the UV5R. It is the I forgot what it was. I remembered before I shot this. Let me just open up Chirp real quick. Oh wait, that's right. I have Windows, so Chirp doesn't work on here. Fortunately, Chirp works on Macs. File. That. There it is. This radio identifies itself as a BF F8 HP, and if you are a Baofeng aficionado, that is what they claim their newest UV5R is. Their big metal box case of a UV5R that they charge $60 for. This is the same radio with a tactical case that's supposed to look like the Harris radio. This is a FP8 on the inside. It looks like the military Harris radio that is normally used for top secret encrypted communication with satellites or over the land and such. They have very many different models, but it is the only NSA certified radio that the handheld radio that the NSA that the military currently uses. And everybody wants a real Harris because they did make civilian models, but they are very expensive and nobody knows how to use them. And I don't believe they use chirp. They use special software. I would love to have a Harris, but I also just want to use my radio. So the Baofeng works for me. They also make the fake Harrises that look just like the real thing, and they don't need all the extra features. They still do just normal radio stuff. But those are very expensive, and I don't know if they work with chirp or not, and that would make me very sad because I like to clone all my radios to each other. This radio works with chirp because it is just a UV5R FP8 HP, whatever you want to call it. It's a very chunky radio. It has all the normal UV5R features. It has the orange screen that can change colors. Let me just get off that repeater. Will it trigger it? No, it won't. Because I have this amazing antenna, it's so good at transmitting that it just goes straight off into space and never actually hits the repeater. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it's got the normal Baofeng rigmarole with the orange screen that you can set to change whatever color you want while it's idling. I like the orange while it's idling because it matches. I like the blue when I'm transmitting because it is the opposite of orange. It's very catching, so I know if I'm accidentally transmitting. And then receiving, it turns purple because it's just the orange and the blue LED mixing and making an abomination of a color. Like the UV9R Pros, it now has a top button that can be used for an alarm, a steady tone, or anything you want to program it to. You can make every single one of these buttons change to the radio if you want to. You can make every single one of these buttons not do anything if you don't want it to. It's up to you. That's nice about this. It does look like it's supposed to be a waterproof radio, but it is not a waterproof radio by any means whatsoever. It looks like it has a big rubber door, but that is not a gasketed door. That is just meant to look like the Harris radio. There is no waterproofing behind the speaker. These keys are not waterproof. The battery is not waterproof. Even though it appears to have a waterproof gasket, that is not a gasket. That is just a buffer between the board and the metal, which this isn't even metal, it's plastic. I do wish this was metal. It would add some more necessary weight. It has a phenomenal battery life. The downside is there's no cradle. That makes some people cry. There's no USB-C charging, USB-C 2.0 charging, like most new Baofengs. It still uses the barrel jack, but this is my only radio that uses a barrel jack, so I'm fine with that. I only have to keep track of one. And it just has an insane battery life. I still haven't used it much, but I still haven't gotten the battery down to 2 bars out of 3. Speaking of the Abri 48.8 inch antenna, this antenna will fit on any standard Baofeng style radio or pretty much any radio that uses SMA connections. This particular antenna is SMA female like most Baofengs, but I do believe they offer an SMA male option. It is essentially 2 tape measure tapes on the inside here that are facing each other, and they just shrink wrap it. So if you're ever into designing antennas, this is an idea for a project. It is very convenient that it folds down but it is still cumbersome when it is broken down. O-rings! One problem this radio has is, unlike the GRMS 9R and the UV 9R Pro that has a very high antenna shoulder, this radio has no antenna shoulder whatsoever. The antenna shoulder is almost entirely flush with the threading for the antenna. So this has an issue with some antennas, which is why I have a ton of O-rings in here. It's not to make it waterproof. It's to basically make a shim. This is getting in the way. It's to basically make a shim that allows you to support the antenna. I'm just going to take this off. It's actually a good thing that I lost that O-ring, so I can show you. You can see this massive gap here. And if these O-rings weren't underneath, this metal brace right here is not resting against anything. It is strictly the SMA connector supporting the entire antenna. So what I've done is I've packed this area full with O-rings. I think there's a small one, a big one, and that's it. I thought there was more in there. Just small one, a big one. To pack that full, I have a small one and a big one in here, and I had one more big one going around the brim here to basically act like a shim to give more support to it. When I have more time, I might 3D print a more solid shim. That way it has a good solid support rather than a flexible support. But that is the only problem that I've really found with this radio, except for the fact that it is so big, and you do have to buy a special holster for it. You cannot put it in a normal radio holster. It does not come with a belt clip, but it does come with a wrist strap that is not nearly long enough to get down to the handhold unless you really strangled your wrist, and then you can reach it. I do believe the stock one is actually longer than this one, just like all Baofeng wrist straps. They're the same, but I am a wrist strap aficionado, and I like my radio themes. That is the AR-152 Baofeng radio. It is I keep wanting to call it a UV5R HP8, but it's an FPHPQR8, whatever they call it now. I keep forgetting the name of it. Basically, the newest version of the UV5R is inside of this, and it's a good radio. There is no super heterodyne. It is still a UV5R. It is just the best UV5R so far inside a big Chunk Master.